Can you hear me? So I would like to thank Clarion for having the opportunity to make and share with you a presentation of what we call waste to wheels, was the commercial name we use, for a model that we are developing for converting waste, garbage, into a renewable fuel for the fleets of the waste collectors. But let me first have a short word on presenting Tractebel, my company. So Tractebel is a worldwide leader in energy, water and urban, giving energy engineering, advisory and project management services for the traditional energies or for the traditional business, but also focusing on the energy transition and on the digital transformation. Some figures about our company: 5,000 employees worldwide, and a presence over 70 countries, with projects developed in over 150 countries. So what we have as Tractebel is really a very good view of what's happening in the different regions, in the different regions worldwide, and this helps us also to understand and be perhaps in one region the front runner, while then also be capable in other regions to support with major technology and with major knowledge front-running projects. So first of all, what is the hydrogen vision of Tractebel? And it's probably a slide that's quite familiar. If we talk about the hydrogen vision, we strongly believe that hydrogen in future will be green hydrogen. And then it speaks for itself that you need to have a massive hydrogen production through cheap renewable energies, maybe solar, maybe wind, but why not, like presented of one of my colleagues this morning, why not offshore hydrogen produced by offshore winds. Then secondly, what we also will see is that there is a multi-usage businesses. We don't speak anymore about only electricity, we don't speak anymore about only heat or cold, process, transport, storage, but what we will see is that we will have integrated systems where sector coupling between the different sectors will be more and more important and will be mandatory in order to come to a greenified hydrogen system. Third, of course, there is the transport, here by ships. It can be purely, the hydrogen can also be ammonia, but it's also probable that there will be some transportation between regions, like for instance we see between Australia and Japan, who could be one a producer and one an importer. And then of course again the multi-uses green offer for mobility, like I already said, for power, but also as feedstock for industry and also for storage. So it's really, I think it's very thrilling to see this hydrogen world and to see how far it can go. And so here in a nutshell you can see you have the hydrogen generation, transmission and distribution, then the power to hydrogen, compression, storage, the transport, and then the mobility, power, heat, industry and the chemicals. And this is the importance of really having this integrated solutions and thinking beyond what you traditionally do within your own business, but thinking also and trying to understand what are the drivers and what are the things that are important in the businesses adjacent to your traditional business. And just to show you that how hydrogen is really flying off, what I've showed you this figure last year, perhaps you would have 1, 2, 3 projects in each region. Today you can see really in Europe we have now, and this is the figure of beginning of middle of this year, but today we have over 20 projects in Europe. We have over, I think today now 10 projects in Southern America, also some projects in South Africa. And what we can also see, and this was probably a region that was a little bit behind in hydrogen, but we can also see now the first projects on hydrogen growing up in APAC. Of course, Australia, it's a little bit logic with all the sun they have, but also in Southeast Asia, we see now the first hydrogen projects pumping up. And for us as Tractebel, as consultant, it's important also to have our teams located where our clients are and where the projects are. And as such, today we have teams in Southern America. Of course, we have teams also in Europe, but we have also teams in Australia. So we really want to have this local footprint and making sure that this business serves also the local communities, and to make sure also that the people in those regions will become enthusiasmed by seeing that it can also be a regional business. Now coming to waste to wheels. What are our ambitions? And it's a typical triangle. It's zero emission mobility. And this waste to wheels, it's really one particular application that I wanted to share with you, because it's important, I think, in hydrogen, that there has been a lot of projects in studies, feasibility studies, conceptual studies, people who think, okay, what can be done? But probably this is one of the first projects that we have in our portfolio where we will see real applications on the floor. And this is important, I think, for the hydrogen business, that we can show truly real applications, that what was designed for and what was thought of, that we can also apply it. And it will also help for us to have economic of scale, to further decrease the cost, and to become a commodity like other commodities. So you have the zero emission mobility. The goal is to have renewable fuel, and then also a equivalent fleet operation or a captive fleet operation, and this all at a acceptable cost. Because this is really crucial, that we need to have, of course, that we need to have this model at no additional costs. If we go to the valorization scheme, and let's start off the I don't know if I can pan out, but you see there the waste collector or the garbage collector. We have in many European cities we have waste incinerators, and depending on the legislation, some of the electricity generated can be considered as green electricity. And traditionally, this electricity was put on a grid. Now what we can see, and we have seen it also during other sessions during the conference, is that due to the coming of renewable energies, there's a lot of more variability on the grid, which makes that the business model the waste incinerators had with the constant flow of income through electricity generation is no longer guaranteed. And so we create an additional business model, while through electrolyzers we have power to hydrogen, and we produce hydrogen. And then, of course, you have the traditional the hydrogen users for external users, but you have also the hydrogen users through the local station you have to fuel your garbage trucks, and based on that, then have a kind of zero emission waste collection. And of course, if you have the power to X, you can still deliver grid services to the grid. The benefits. There are economical, social, and operational benefits. Economical, it speaks for itself. For the waste incinerator, you can have a diversified revenues, or an additional flow of revenues. You have the flexibility. They can offer auxiliary service to the grid, as not necessarily the hydrogen production should be a baseload production. You can use flexibility, and we know today that grid operators are really keen to pay for auxiliary services. And of course you have also the oxygen production that can be a commercial gas. Secondly, you have also the social impact. You have this green hydrogen as fuel. And when you speak about garbage collection, it's mostly in high dense cities. So you have less emissions, you have also less noise pollution. So it's a sensitivity to what cities are very attentive. And you also increase the local content, because you have some kind of a circular economy. And then operationally, you have the zero emission waste collection. It's a healthier work environment also for the people collecting the waste. You have the autonomy. as with these hydrogen powered trucks, you have a improved autonomy compared to battery vehicles, and of course you have the an increase in operational time, with again less noise pollution, and then also less constraints for refueling, as you can fuel more hydrogen in your truck than with batteries. Then some project references that we would like to share. The first one is the Revive project. It's a FCH fuel cells and hydrogen joint undertaken, sponsored by the European Commission. And the goal is to demonstrate the feasibility through an on-the-road demonstration of refuse vehicles in a certain number of European cities. The project started in 2018 and will run up to 2021. And its creation, what we have to do is, what we want to do together with a partner, is to create and coordinate the consortium consisting of bringing the cities together with the hydrogen fueled refuse vehicle, and to develop a model that demonstrates that it's a real economic and economic business model. So what is the goal of the project? There's still a gap in trucks versus cars and buses for using fuel cells. So it's to bridge this gap. Then it's to have, and this project which should normally start beginning of next year, it's to have really a try run with those trucks in an operating environment to really demonstrate that the OPEX and the availability of these trucks is comparable to what we have with traditional trucks, and then compile the evidence base for a continued rollout of the technology. What is the status today? There has been a delay in ordering of the trucks because refueling structure was not. The Revive project mainly concentrates on the trucks. Refueling infrastructure was out of the Revive project, so there has been a certain delay in developing of the refueling structure. So this impacted also a certain delay on the ordering of the trucks. But now we are catching up with the goal also that what you can see if we look to the level of what we have today in Europe as fuel cell suppliers, it's not necessarily at the same level of the non-EU suppliers. And so today we will have 2 EU suppliers to make it feasible to develop this technology and to permit them to be at the same level as non-European suppliers, and also have the capability to benchmark it. We expect the first deployment in Breda in the Netherlands January 2020. So only in a few months from here we will really be capable of running this through. What's also important to say is that this project is really a multi-city and multi-country project. So we have projects in the Netherlands, there's a project in I think Denmark, in Belgium, in France, so it's in Italy even. So I think it's really spread throughout of Europe, which will make it also, which also will increase the acceptance by the sector of hydrogen-fueled vehicles throughout Europe. And today we know that there are some trucks that we could produce additionally, and so there are a number of cities in Renewable in Sweden, Herf in Germany, and Dijon in France, who are also interested to join this program. The principle of today, this truck, it's based on a standard truck, and here you have it comes from one of our partners, E-Trucks. So you have the hydrogen storage, who is built up of the truck. Then you have the fuel cell module, and then you have a battery package where you temporarily store your electricity, and then you have an electrical motor to drive your truck. But what we see is today the capacity of this company, they can produce approximately 1 truck per week. So it's still quite, I would not say artisanal, but it's still, we should now also move through a more industrialization to have to be capable of delivering a higher volume. But what's important to also to share about this project is that thanks to this project and to the developments made, we have now two proposals or two projects in development in Belgium, where we want to have where we further develop this concept. The first one is in the Walloon region, where at an incinerator site, this time we will install a 1 megawatt electrolyzer. Then it will be transported to trucks to a distribution center. And within this distribution center, then we will use it to have a captive fleet, this time of public transport buses. So the idea of and the concept of having the incinerator linked to the incinerator producing hydrogen linked to refueling trucks is now paving the way also for other business models for these incinerators or for the waste collectors to valorize their hydrogen. And there's a second project in Brussels, also in Belgium, where we have a feasibility study, where this time it would be also used to give fuel and to give hydrogen to the public transportations. So it seems that what we found out of the model that the captive fleet of a public transport is much more important than the captive fleet of course, the waste incinerator. So when you want to develop projects, and certainly the first of a kind, it's important that we have a certain volume, and so therefore it's important that for the time being we still use the origin of the green hydrogen coming from the waste incinerators, but now we use this hydrogen for the buses. So in a short nutshell, what is important is that today we are trying to spread out this model. Our teams in France and our teams, you have seen it's mainly oriented today on Belgium, but our teams in France or in Germany are also addressing the market, and probably what I expect that within the near future we'll also see such model pumping up or popping up in other regions. Thank you for your attention.